Deep inside Ohio, the Lima Army tank plant roars to life, the beating heart where heavy American steel transforms into absolute unstoppable battlefield dominance. We start with the carcass of a battle-tested beast stripped down to bare metal, ready to be reborn through fire sparks and sweat. High-pressure grit blasts away years of desert sand and old paint, revealing the raw iron soul that will soon carry soldiers into combat. Plasma torches scream against the thick alloy, slicing through the hardened plates with surgical precision to make way for massive next-generation engine upgrades. Sparks fly in a violent shower as skilled welders fuse fresh armor plating, reinforcing the hull to withstand the deadliest modern anti-tank kinetic rounds. Massive robotic arms manipulate the multi-ton turret structure, holding it steady, while human hands perfect the welds that seal the crew's protective citadel. The 120mm smoothbore cannon arrives a solid bar of high-strength ordnance steel forged to deliver devastating lethality at over 2 miles distance. Lathes spin the massive barrel, shaving off microscopic layers of metal to ensure the projectile flies true when the trigger is finally pulled. Technicians install the heavy breech mechanism, a complex assembly of steel that must contain the explosive pressure of a sabot round leaving the chamber. The crane lowers the main gun into the turret mount, a marriage of heavy firepower and impenetrable armor that defines the Abrams lethal profile. Classified composite armor packs are slid into the turret cavities, a secret blend of ceramics and depleted uranium that shatters incoming enemy penetrators. Welders seal the armor cavities forever, locking away the proprietary secrets that keep American tank crews safe when the fighting gets up close. Beneath the hull workers install the heavy torsion bars, the steel spine that allows the 70-ton monster to glide over rough, broken terrain. Rows of aluminum road wheels are bolted on, ready to support the massive tracks that will crush anything standing in the tank's path. The gas turbine engine sits on a stand, a jet fuel-burning powerhouse waiting to breathe life and speed into this mountain of cold rolled steel. Miles of complex wiring harnesses are snaked through the interior. The nervous system that connects the targeting computers to the commander's thermal vision display. Inside the crew compartment, white paint covers the steel walls, brightening the cramped space where 4 soldiers will operate this machine of war. The massive turret ring is machined to a mirror finish, ensuring the gun can spin 360 degrees in just 9 rapid seconds. It is time for the marriage as the overhead crane lifts the fully armored turret and slowly lowers it onto the waiting heavy chassis. The fit is perfect, a testament to American manufacturing precision, turning thousands of separate heavy parts into a singular unified weapon of ground warfare. Giant bolts are torqued down to secure the turret ring, ensuring it stays attached, even if the tank is hit by a massive explosion. The 1,500 horsepower gas turbine engine is slid into the rear bay, a compact unit that provides the thrust of a jet aircraft. Mechanics connect the transmission lines, linking that raw turbine power to the rear drive sprockets that will force the heavy steel tracks to turn. On the concrete floor, long ribbons of steel track are laid out flat, heavy individual links pinned together to form a continuous mobile road. The tank is lowered onto the tracks and workers muscle the heavy ends together, driving the master pin to close the loop forever. Hydraulic tensioners push the idler wheels forward, pulling the heavy track tight against the road wheels so it won't slip during high-speed maneuvers. Heavy armored side skirts are bolted along the flanks, protecting the vulnerable suspension components from rocket-propelled grenades and roadside bomb shrapnel in urban zones. Technicians install the commander's independent thermal viewer, a rotating glass eye that allows the crew to hunt for heat signatures in pitch-black darkness. The gunner's primary sight is calibrated with laser precision, ensuring the computerized crosshairs align perfectly with the trajectory of the main gun's kinetic rounds. Digital battle management screens are wired into the console, giving the commander a real-time map of every friendly unit and enemy threat nearby. The remote weapon station is mounted on top, allowing the commander to fire the heavy machine gun without ever exposing his head to snipers. Workers attach brackets for explosive reactive armor, tiles, an extra layer of defense that detonates outward to stop shaped charges from burning through. Halon gas fire suppression bottles are secured in the engine bay, ready to instantly snuff out flames if the fuel lines are ever ruptured. The bustle rack is welded to the turret rear, providing essential storage space for the crew's gear, spare ammo, and water for long missions. The completed metal beast moves into the spray booth, where it is coated in a heavy industrial primer to seal the steel against corrosion. Robots apply the special radar-absorbing paint, a tough skin that neutralizes chemical weapons and helps hide the massive tank from enemy thermal sights. Stencils are taped over the fresh paint, and black serial numbers are sprayed on, giving this specific machine its unique identity in the Army inventory. Crews pump gallons of hydraulic fluid and jet fuel into the reservoirs, waking the dormant systems as the tank prepares to move under power. The start button is pressed and the turbine whines to a deafening pitch before settling into the deep, hot idle of a waking dragon. Smoke blasts from the rear exhaust grille as the 70-ton giant lurches forward, rolling out of the factory bay and into the testing yard. The test driver slams the throttle, sending 70 tons of American armor tearing down the concrete strip at speeds that defy physics and gravity. It hits the brutal bump course hard, the torsion bar suspension flexing violently to keep the hull stable while the tracks hammer the ground. Mud flies high in the air as the tank pivots on a dime, one track locking up Las Terras, while the other tears into the earth. The turbine engine screams at full power, pushing the speedometer back past 40 miles per hour, shaking the ground with a deep mechanical earthquake. Inside the turret, the stabilization gyros spin up, keeping the main gun locked level on the horizon even while the hull bounces over ditches. Engineers hook up diagnostic laptops to the data ports, reading the sensor streams to ensure the digital brain is communicating with the mechanical muscle. The tank climbs a 60-degree concrete slope, the rubber track pads gripping the steep incline, proving this beast can conquer any vertical terrain obstacle. It plunges into the water ford, submerging the road wheels in muddy sludge to verify the seals, keep the transmission dry and fully operational. Now comes the critical test of lethality as the Abrams rolls onto the live fire range to prove its main gun can deliver the goods. A heavy crane loads the dummy kinetic rounds into the rack, simulating the weight and feel of the depleted uranium sabot ammo used in war. The gunner acquires the downrange target lasers the distance and squeezes the triggers, sending a thunderous shockwave rippling through the cold Ohio air. The recoil system absorbs the massive kick, sliding the cannon barrel back and returning it instantly to battery, ready for the next follow-up shot. Spent brass casings from the coaxial machine gun pile up on the floor as the crew tests the secondary weapons against pop-up infantry targets. Every system is pushed to the absolute breaking point, ensuring that nothing will fail when a young crew depends on it in a firefight. The tank returns to the wash rack where high-pressure water blasts away the test range mud, cleaning the armor for its final quality inspection. Quality control. Inspectors crawl over every inch of the hull with flashlights looking for stress, cracks, leaks, or loose bolts that need tightening down. A final layer of chemical agent-resistant coating is sprayed over any scratches, sealing the metal skin against the harshest biological environments on Earth. Heavy steel chains are dragged out as the tank is driven onto the flatbed railcar, the suspension compressing under the immense weight of the chains. Workers crank the binders down tight, locking the 70-ton monster to the deck of the train, immovable and ready for the long journey out. This is the end of the line for the factory workers, but just the beginning for the machine that will dominate the modern battlefield. The locomotive horn blasts as the heavy train begins to move, dragging millions of dollars of combat power across the vast American landscape. Steel wheels screech against the iron rails, carrying the weight of a customized armored division toward the deep water shipping ports on the coast. At the shipping terminal, massive cranes dominate the skyline, ready to load the heavy support containers that will sustain these tanks in battle. The tanks drive up the steep metal ramp of the gray transport ship, entering the cavernous steel belly that will carry them overseas. Deck hands chain the tracks to the floor, securing the massive vehicles against the violent pitching and rolling of the treacherous Atlantic Ocean. For weeks, the machines sit in the dark salt air, kept at bay by heavy industrial seals waiting for the destination port to appear. The ship's ramp lowers onto foreign soil, and the tanks roar to life again, rolling off the vessel and into the staging area. But the tank is not yet ready for war until the heavy wooden crates arrive, carrying the mission-specific armor packages for this fight. Soldiers pry open the military-grade timber boxes, revealing the explosive reactive armor tiles that must be bolted to the tank's outer flanks. Mechanics wrestle the heavy tiles into place, creating a deadly mosaic of explosive protection that defeats incoming rocket-propelled grenades in the urban zone. Another crate is cracked open to reveal the transparency armor, gun shields glass thick enough to stop sniper bullets from hitting the commander. The tank urban survival kit is unpacked from its shipping containers, a collection of bolt-on upgrades designed for the chaos of city fighting. Heavy steel belly plates are dragged from the pallets and mounted under the hull, adding a critical shield against buried improvised explosive devices. A remote telephone box is wired to the rear fender, allowing infantry soldiers to talk directly to the tank crew inside the beast. Wooden boxes of .50 caliber ammunition are broken open, the brass belts loaded into the commander's weapons station for close-range defense against enemy troops. The loader unpacks the 120mm shells from their fiber tubes, sliding the heavy kinetic penetrators into the blast-proof ready rack door. Support crews fill the fuel bladders, pumping hundreds of gallons of JP-8 jet fuel into the thirsty turbine to extend the operational range. This is the final stage of the build where the factory-fresh machine is hardened and customized by the soldiers who will actually fight it. The clean paint is covered in dust and gear bags, transforming the pristine factory product into a lived-in, battle-hardened weapon of modern war. With the up armor kits installed and the ammo racks full, the Abrams is finally ready to leave the wire and hunt the enemy. Back at the plant, the work never stops as furnaces melt down scrap metal to cast the endless supply of heavy spare parts. Fresh tank tracks are poured into molds, cooling into the hardened steel shoes that will replace those chewed up by harsh desert rocks. Workers build brand new gas turbine engines from the ground up, placing these high-tech power plants into sealed pressurized shipping containers for transport. Massive wooden crates are constructed in the carpentry shop sized perfectly to hold the heavy transmission units destined for forward operating bases. Spare gun barrels are coated in heavy grease and wrapped in vapor-proof paper before being lowered into long reinforced timber transport boxes. This is the logistical tale that wins wars: a mountain of boxed steel and spare electronics heading out to meet the frontline units. Forklifts rush back and forth, stacking the heavy olive drab crates onto pallets, building a fortress of supplies ready for global distribution. Inside the electronics lab, delicate targeting sensors are packed into foam-lined hard cases, ensuring they survive the rough flight to the combat zone. The factory floor vibrates with the sound of impact wrenches as mechanics disassemble worn-out power packs sent back from the field for repair. It is a continuous cycle of iron and fire where broken machines return to be healed and new parts flow out to the fight. Warehouse shelves groan under the weight of road wheels, sprockets, and torsion bars, a billion-dollar inventory of heavy metal essentials kept in reserve. Every single bolt and bracket is cataloged, tagged with a barcode, and sealed in thick plastic to protect it from humidity and rust. The shipping department is a chaotic hive of activity, stenciling destination codes onto the wooden crates that are bound for Europe and Asia. Heavy chains secure the crated engines to the flatbeds of semi-trucks, a convoy of horsepower moving out onto the interstate highway system. This industrial might is what separates a world power from a militia: the ability to replace every single broken part, indefinitely and immediately. Welders repair the cracked steel of returned hull sections, burning away the battle damage to restore the structural integrity of the armored frame. The smell of ozone and burning metal hangs thick in the air, the perfume of an industrial giant that never sleeps or slows down. Precision grinders refinish the surfaces of scarred turret rings, shaving off thousandths of an inch to make the steel smooth as glass again. In the packaging bay, instructions are slipped into the crate's technical manuals that tell the mechanics in the mud how to install the part. The wooden lid is hammered shut on a crate containing a new thermal sight sealing high-tech optics inside a low-tech protective shell. The shift whistle blows loud, but the robotic welders keep moving, a testament to the relentless demand for heavy American armor in a dangerous world. Rows of completed tanks sit in the yard, a silent parking lot of predators waiting for the order to hunt down the enemy. Carpenters secure the final bracing on the massive transport boxes, ensuring the heavy steel contents do not shift during the chaotic flight overseas. These wooden coffins of firepower are loaded onto C-17 cargo planes, ready to be airdropped onto any tarmac in any hemisphere within hours. This facility in Ohio is more than just a factory. It is the iron backbone of the free world's defense against total tyranny. It takes human sweat to forge the steel, but it takes cold hard engineering to turn that metal into a precision killing machine. These tanks are built to outlast the soldiers who drive them, surviving the worst punishment the desert and the enemy can dish out. The smoothbore steel of the cannon cools down one last time, waiting for the moment it heats up again in the heat of combat. The foundry floor remains dark and gritty, lit only by the violent blue flash of welding arcs fusing the next generation of hulls. There is no substitute for heavy armor, and no other nation on Earth can produce this level of protection at this industrial scale. The ground shakes as another finished unit rolls off the line, the turbine engine whining like a jet, preparing for a vertical takeoff. Generations of workers have stood on this concrete, passing down the secrets of welding and machining that keep this metal beast alive today. The grease is applied, the bolts are tightened, and the checklists are signed, marking the transition from raw material to combat-ready asset. Heavy straps bind the auxiliary power units into their wooden crates, ensuring the tank has electrical power even when the main engine is off. The logistics officers slap the final shipping manifests on the side, authorizing the movement of this lethal hardware to the front lines immediately. Peace is bought with superior firepower, and this factory is the bank that prints the currency of absolute dominance in